Hello everyone, welcome to Marlin Chess Kids. Today I'll show the gameplay by Tingjie and Magnus, and this beautiful game complete in only 37 moves with a pawn checkmate. And let's see how the game play. The game starts with the pawn to d4, knight f6, c4, and here you have a very strong opening from the white, with the pawn trying to gain control of the center. And with this, the black push c5, trying to break off the pawn in the center. After this, the white developed knight to f3, and here the pawn just captured the d4 pawn. After this, the knight recaptured back, and now e6 was played, preparing to active the bishop. Then the game continue with a pawn to g3, and now bishop to b4, check the king, and here you allow the king to go for a short castling. So this is the first 5 move, and the white is slightly better in this position. And after this, the bishop just block the check, and now the bishop back to c5, continue attack the knight. Also have the idea to attack the pawn at f2, and now the knight to b3, continue to attack the bishop, and here the bishop just back to e7, and now the white develop bishop to g2 and also prepare for a short castling. After this, the black play knight to c6, and now knight to c3. Then b6 was played, trying to push the bishop to attack the diagonal. And here the white go for a short castling, and bishop to b7 was played. And this is the first 10 move, and here the value is a 0 value, 0.58. You can see white is slightly better, and both has a very good position and develop as well. Then the game continue with bishop to f4, and now the black go for a short castling, and now the knight to b5. And this knight you have the idea to develop, and you can also go to here to block the bishop and attack, and also you can put the bishop to continue to attack the bishop. So after this move, the knight to e8 was played to prevent the knight to go to the d6 square, and after this the rook to c1, then d6 was played, and now queen to d2, trying to have the pawn at c to push up, and also indirectly you have the bishop attack the pawn at h7. So in the actual game, queen d2 was played, and after this a6 to attack the knight, and now the knight 5 to d4, trying to attack the knight. Then after this, the rook to c8, and now the knight capture and bishop capture. Then the white is still slightly better in this position. After this, the rook f to d1, double up the d file, and here the bishop capture the bishop, and the queen capture. Then the queen to c7, trying to attack the pawn. And here after this, e4 was played, and now the queen goes to b7, trying to pin the pawn and also capture the pawn. f3 was played, and after this h6 from the black, and this is still the first 20 move, and the white is just slightly better in the position. The game continue with bishop to e3, and now knight to f6, then queen to f2, trying to capture the pawn, and here the black play b5, trying to attack the pawn. After this, c5 was played, and to push up, to not want to exchange. Another suggestion that the white can play will be knight to a5, trying to attack the queen, and this will force queen to go back. For example, if you go back to b8, then the bishop will continue to attack the queen, and if the queen goes to a8, then the queen will be a very limited place to play and attack. So after this move, c5 was played, and now the black push the pawn to d5. Then the white continue to push the pawn forwards to attack the queen, and after this the queen to a8, and this will be one of the weak moves because it gives white the chance to attack. The better move will be capture the pawn, and the black is still okay because after this, if you capture with the rook, then the queen will just capture, and this will give black better with a very solid pawn structure. So if after the pawn capture, then you give the position to be equal, and if you push the pawn to attack the knight, then the rook will just capture, and after rook capture, then the knight to d7 and continue to attack the pawn, and here the black will be winning a pawn and the position is still equal in the game. So in the actual game, queen a8 was played, and after this the white play e5 trying to attack the knight, and here the black play d4 continue to attack the bishop, and this attack is one of the position sacrifice, so this will allow the knight to go to the center of the square. So in the actual game, bishop capture the pawn, and after capture the pawn, now the knight to d5, and here you have a very strong knight in the center of the board. After this, the knight to a5, continue to push forward and protect the pawn. So here, if you want to see the reason why the knight come to here, is this will give white a strong initiative. For example, if you make an example move such as king to h8, then the bishop will continue to play to b6, and this allows the pawn to push and protected by the bishop. And if the king move back to this g8, then you can push the pawn forward, and if you move king to h8, then now the knight can continue to come to c6 and attack the bishop, and basically this bishop will be trapped. For example, the bishop is control the square, control the square, and control the square, and now the push f4 will control the square, and basically this bishop will be trapped, as you can see. So the knight can capture, right? So after this move, if you move the bishop to g5, then the rook will just capture the knight, and this is will be one of the sacrifice. And after the pawn capture, then you just push the pawn f4, and this bishop will be trapped, as you can see in this position. So the reason why the knight to f5 is to gain control later stage, to control in the middle of the board and attack the bishop. So this knight a5 will give white a strong initiative, and after this rook c8 was played, and this is also one of the weak move, as after this move the bishop can goes to c5 to attack the bishop and go for the exchange. And in the actual game, rook f to c8 was played, so the black trying to double up all the pieces to attack the pawn, and here the bishop to b6 and trying to attack the rook, and it's protected by the pawn. And if you use the bishop to capture, then the pawn will just capture, and this 2 pawn will be a very strong move, and it will be clearly winning for the white. And if you capture the pawn, then the knight will just capture it back. For example, if you capture, the knight will just capture, and the white will be clearly winning. So if you move the rook away, then any of this pawn will be winning for the white to push forwards. So in the actual game, after this move, bishop to g5 was played, and now f4 from the white trying to attack the bishop. And if you move the bishop to d8, then this rook will be captured, and you can see this is a double attack from the white. So obviously you can see white is clearly better in the position. So with this, the black play a rook capture, and now the knight capture the black, and after rook capture, then the rook capture, and at this move, then the queen will just capture it back, and the bishop at this will still be trapped. So after this move, if you take the pawn, take the bishop with the pawn f takes g5, then this will become the equal position because you have the open check, knight to f4 and open check. And if you capture with the queen, then here you have a very nice move such as rook take, and you have the discover open check. So after rook takes and check, and if you move any place such as king to f2, then the rook will just capture, and it will be black winning at this position. And if you move the kings to f2, and here the rook will just capture, and the black is clearly better at this position. So back at this position, this will be a very strong move, knight sacrifice, or even you can use the rook to capture the rook, and after the rook capture, then you have a knight sacrifice, knight attack and open check, and basically this knight cannot be captured. So if you move the king to f1, then the queen will just continue to check, and now if you move, you cannot move the king up because the knight is protecting the square. So if the queen defends, then the queen will go to d3 check, and after queen to f2, then you have the queen to h1 check, and after queen to g1, then you have queen to f3 check, and then if you queen to f2, then queen to h1 check, and this will be a virtual check, and it will be a draw. Back to this position check, if your king move to e1, then you have a queen to e2 checkmate from, and the king cannot be moved. So you have a very nice checkmate and attacking idea for the black. So therefore, back at this position, this knight discover check is one of the very nice move, and therefore it cannot be captured. And after this position, the rook capture, and then the queen continue to capture, and here again you have the open check again. So at this moment, even though the white is winning, and this position is need to be very careful to avoid any discover open check. And after this move, the king have a few escapes such as king to h3, or king to g1, or even king to f1, and this will give white a clearly better. And in this position, if you capture the pawn, capture the bishop, now you have the double open check, and here the knight check and the queen will check. Then if you move the king to g1, then you have a knight to h3, check the king, and you're winning the queen with the fork. So after king to f1, then knight will just capture the weak queen and will be winning in the game. So after this check, again you can see very legitimate place. If you move the king to f1, then here the queen will continue to go h1 check, and after queen to g1, then the queen will go to f3 check, and now the queen block, then the queen will just capture the rook and check, and if the queen blocks, then the queen will continue to check, and now if the queen to f2, and here you have a queen to d3 check, then here you can't move to inside or you can't block with the queen. If you go inside, then the knight will continue to check and win the queen. And if you move the queen to block, then the queen will just capture. So if you move the king to e1, then the queen will just continue to check. And after king can't go inside, if you king to d2, then the queen will just capture. And here, after this, you have a very little place. If you move the king to d1, then the knight will continue to check, and the knight king go to f3, then the queen will just continue to check, and if the king go back to e2, then now the pawn will just capture. After this series of attack, you can see that the black will be winning in the pawn. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pawn versus 4 pawn, and this will be easy win for the black. So back at this position, this is a very sharp attack. Therefore, the black need to escape from the direct attack. And the actual game, the king moved to h3. After this move, the bishop goes to d8. And the reason the bishop goes to d8, you will continue to escape from being captured by the pawn and also captured by the bishop. So after this move, in the actual game, in this position, the white is winning with a decisive advantage. And after this move, the white plan to go for queen exchange. And just with this move, the white play queen c5, and this is a tactical blunder. And with this move, the black is winning the game. So after queen to c5, the black is winning and mate in 5. I give a couple of seconds to figure out how the black continue to play and mate in 5. Well, congratulations for those who are able to find the answer. And for those who like to enjoy the show, here are the moves that the black can play and mate in 5. So after this move, you can play a very nice sacrifice with the knight capture the pawn at f4, and it will be mate. So after this move, if you use the pawn to capture, then the queen to f3, and it will be a checkmate. A very nice idea of checkmate. So after capture, now the king need to move, and the only one place to move is king to e4, and after this the queen can goes to e4 and go for a discover check. And after this you can see that the white has no way to check the king, and after this move if you play the bishop to e7 to block the bishop attack, then now you can go for a queen to e2 and check and give the sacrifice of the knight. So queen to e2 check, and this is a very nice another sacrifice of the knight. And here if the king, you can see very intimate place to play, and the only play you can move is this h4 or capture the knight. If you capture the knight, and then you have a pawn g5 check, and you can see the king is basically trapped in the center of the pawn. Then therefore if here you cannot move the king, the only way is to use the bishop capture, and after the capture you have a very nice pawn checkmate, capture it by, and you can see the king has no way to escape. It's a very nice pawn check. And back to this position, if you use the bishop to check, you also can use the bishop to capture, and it also will be a very nice checkmate. So back to this position, the white trying to go for the chain, and instead of this the black play queen a8, and after this move the white play rook c1, trying to go for the back rank and attack the bishop, attack the queen. And at this moment the black notice this is a very brilliant sacrifice, and with this move the knight takes f4, and this is a checkmate that cannot be avoided by the white. So after this move the king move to g4 in the actual game, and after queen goes to e4 trying to attack with the pawn, and here the white still think that it can save the game by playing queen c6 to go for the queen exchange, and also you have the idea to check the king and also capture the bishop. But after this move at move 37 the black play h5, and with this the king is checkmate, as the king has no place to move after this move. And with this, thank you.